Hi everyone, my name is Marcos Habib, and I'll be talking about high latitude climates. There are three types of high latitude climates. The first one is the tundra climate, the second one is the boreal forest climate, and the last one is the ice sheet climate. The high latitude climates are characterized by strong variation in day length during different seasons of the year. The number of daylight hours depends on the latitude and how the Earth circles the sun. Winter days are the shortest in each hemisphere, and the amount of daylight hours declines between the summer and winter solstices, and the rate of decrease increases with latitude. And as you can see here in my uh, graph here on the left-hand side, it shows the variation in sun hours during the year at various latitudes in Norway. And if you would look here in November, let's say, they would get 6 hours of daylight, and then it would be all dark. The boreal forest climate. The boreal forest climate latitudes range from 50 degrees to 70 degrees north. It runs across North America from central and western Alaska via the Yukon and Northwest Territories to Labrador and the Atlantic coast. It stretches from Scandinavian peninsulas eastwards via Serbia to the Pacific across Europe and Asia. And you can see here in the map, it covers a lot of ground. The type of climate is one of the most dramatic seasonal temperature variation climates. Temperatures fall below 50 degrees Celsius in the winter and rise over 26 degrees Celsius in the summer. Summers, on the other hand, are brief, lasting just 3 months out of the year. The Canadian Boreal Forest. In Canada, 70% of the Aboriginal settlements are located in wooded areas, and these wooded areas are mostly boreal forest, and they are very economically vital to the Aboriginal peoples in Canada. Indigenous people lived and relied on boreal forest, and now it's home for over 600 indigenous settlements. The culture and community is strongly linked to the forest and wildlife, such as the boreal caribou, the creature here on the top picture on my slide. The indigenous communities, unfortunately, are experiencing a rise in industrial assaults into their traditional territory. And one of these assaults are the Trans Mountain Pipeline, like we all know. And it has raised concerns because there could be leaks that would affect the salmon populations and damage culture and spiritual sites. And likelihood of marine spill in the coastal towns is increased year by year because you have these big tanker traffic ships that come and move oil. Um, this obviously does not um, pledge and meet the climate um, promises that the Canadian government gave uh, and do not apply to the Paris Agreement at all. Um, for instance, the sand petroleum extraction is 3 to 5 times more destructive to the environment than the traditional extraction of oil. Preservation of land and wildlife is very important, and who can reserve these lands and has the most experience are the indigenous people, and they have a profound grasp of the boreal forest, and it has been passed down through generation and generation. The traditional knowledge remains the primary source of information on the geographical characteristic, species statuses, and health, and changes in the landscape, especially due to the climate change. They have a lot of knowledge about their land, obviously because they have been living in it their whole life. A sample of their clothing is on the left here, and it's made out of fur and obviously keeps them warm. The cuisine. I've chosen two of the cuisines that I saw look delicious. There are a lot more, obviously. One of them is the buffalo beef stew, and they rely a lot on bison, and is probably their primary source of meat. And the secondary source of meat, which is also very important to their culture, is salmon. And it's one of the healthiest foods for your mind because it contains a lot of these omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. There are a lot of attractions for tourism in the boreal areas. A sample of them is like the hot springs in the Liard River hot springs in British Columbia, which look very restful and enjoyable. It's the second largest hot spring in Canada. Canoeing also is a very um, good attraction, and the you'll find the Wabakimi Provincial Park is in Northwest Ontario to be a perfect spot for paddling for those people who like canoeing just like myself. Moving on, the tundra climate type. There are three types of climates in the tundra. The tundra biome is separated into three types: the Arctic tundra, Alpine tundra, and the Antarctic tundra. As you can see on the picture on the right here, the this type of climate exists in North America and around the the Serbian coast, the around Eurasia. So it spreads a lot around, spreads over the island territory of northern Canada and the Hudson Bay, Greenland coast, and the climate also reaches the Antarctic Peninsula. Except for one coast of Greenland where the tundra latitudes more than 80 degrees north. The latitude range usually for this um, climate is usually between 60 to 75 degrees. The only exception is the um, north coast of Greenland where the tundra exists even higher at 80 degrees. One of the countries that lay in this climate region is Tajikistan, and one of the areas in it is called the Murghab region, which is in eastern Tajikistan. It's a high it's set high in the mountains, the Pamir Mountains, and sometimes it's known as Roof of the World. This region borders China to the east, Afghanistan to the south, and is also home to the Kyrgyz nomads. I apologize. I'm not sure how you pronounce their name. I believe it's Kyrgyz. Yes, Kyrgyz nomads. These tribes have always lived on their livestock and use hunting to capture their prey, and that's how they get their food. And it gets moved between season to season, obviously. These tribes live in yurts, and they're also known as Bozu, and which means gray felt, uh, due to the color of the felt outside, and it's an important part of their culture. This circular housing is created from hundreds of treated wood pieces, bound and secured without nails, and it serves as a robust yet easily dismantled living structure. Although they look pretty lame from the outside, they are actually very vibrant, welcoming from the inside. They have hand-stitched felt rugs, and they used to cover the yurt floor and sidewall, as you can see in these pictures here. Looks pretty cozy, right? The salburn. It's a traditional Kyrgyz hunting culture, and this practice in the world is combined using golden eagles, taigen, which is the dog that you see here on the right, is an ancient and beautiful hunting dog, and the hunters are on horsebacks. Uh, for tourists, the Salburn exhibitions hunt stuffed animal instead of a live animal. Their cuisine, as you can see, looks pretty delicious. Um, the sharpo here, the first one on the left, which means literally soup, served in a bowl with green onions, is salt seasoned beef or lamb broth, which has 2 to 3 potatoes added. The besh barmak is the main diet of the Kyrgyz nomads, and it's actually difficult to prepare. The meat, lamb or beef, is cooked in boiling water, and the remaining ingredients are handmade noodles and chopped onions. The haishuk, I believe I'm pronouncing this completely wrong. Commonly known as kezi, is sausage made from horse flesh and intestines. Before being filled with the horse rib meat, knotted and boiled in water, the horse intestines are washed, obviously, and sanitized because you don't want to eat the stuff that was in there before. During the cooking, the intestine is pried open with a toothpick once or twice to let the air escape. We have a similar type of food also in Egypt, where I am from, and it's actually made in the same way. And we fill it with meat and rice, and it's actually very tasty. Um, the third one here in my pictures is the oroma, is a traditional steamed pie, and the fourth one is uh, lamb, usually meat or lamb, and with green onions cut on top of it, as you can see. The clothing of these people is called kalpak, and it's the renowned piece of apparel. The kalpak is actually the tall hat made of white felt that is often worn by men above the age of 6. A shapan is a coat with a high collar, or suede or leather pants, were also worn by men. Honored visitors are sometimes given a beautiful stitched kalpak and a long quilled felt coat known as shapkin. You can see the top picture. You can see the kalpak that the ladies are wearing. And at the bottom here, you can see these girls wearing the kalpak and other types of hats. The third climate on my list is the Aishi climate. Aishi climates range from 65 degrees to 90 degrees. This climate exists in the Arctic, Greenland, and polar sea ice of the Arctic Ocean. The ice cap climate is the world's coldest climate, and it features the coldest regions. For instance, Vostok in Antarctica is the coldest spot on the planet with an average temperature of negative 55.2 degrees Celsius. And it also had the lowest temperature recorded over there, which was negative 89.2 degrees Celsius. One of the countries that has a lot of um, ice sheet and is an ice sheet climate country. It's covered by 80% of ice sheet, and it's over 700,000 square miles. It's one of the country's most prominent geological features. But unfortunately, as you can see in the graph here on the right, year by year, we are losing a lot of this ice. And one of the only things that is stopping, which not stopping, does not cause or helps the decrease of the rise of the sea levels, is the global dam project, which is the only one thing here. But on the graph here, you see the mountain glaciers, Greenland ice, Greenland and Antarctica terminal expansion, and mountain glaciers. All of these are melting. In Greenland, the first migration known was from Canada, which was 4,500 years ago. And these occupants existed for around 1,500 years and then vanished for unexplained causes. The culture that was there is called the Thule culture, and they invented the kayaks, dock sleds, harpoons, and during that period as well, surprisingly, the Norse people also migrated and settled side by side with the Thule people in Greenland. Eric Thor Valdason, exiled from Iceland because of his father's killings, went west and discovered lush valleys and the lovely fjord environment in 982, sorry, where he decided to dwell or stay for a little bit. When he returned to Iceland 4 years later, he told everyone about the new territory, which was nicknamed the Greenland, which suggests that back in 982, the period that period was warmer than it is today. And sorry, this says Iceland, but I meant Greenland. Colonization. Greenland was rediscovered back by the Europeans in 1721. Denmark claimed the island as a colony in 1775. Greenland was constituted as a division of the monarchy of Denmark by a new Danish constitution in 1953, and then Greenland was given a recognition as an independent nation within the kingdom in 1979. Two cool cuisines they have in Greenland. One is the swasat. It's a soup prepared from seal meat. In Greenland, it's one of their national foods. Sorry, meat over there is usually from marine animals, game, birds, and fish. And that's the most ingredients come from the ocean, obviously, because it's an island, so they do a lot of fishing. Greenlandic coffee is a flaming dessert which consists of coffee, whiskey, Kahlua, Grand Marnier, and whipped cream. And usually it's lit before you drink it, as you can see the picture at the bottom. The touristic attractions in Greenland, um, most the ones that have caught my eye is the Ilulissat Ice Fjord. Is a huge um, ice sheet, whale watching, the northern lights, dock sledding, and snowmobile tours. There are some Viking ruins in the second picture, and exploring the island using boats and ferries. The Kalaalleq is a sample of the Greenlandic traditional clothing. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.